Talk Radio. Now in our 24th year and well over 19,000 guests, the Ron Sedgy Show live originates from our Universal Radio studios. Celebrities from TV, music, movies, literature, politics, and show business, at one time or another, they all come to the Ron Sedgy Show. So why don't you?
You can try fighting the law all you want, but the law is always going to win. From politicians and celebrities to sports figures and business leaders, they're fighting the law. Now, here to sort out the nation's top legal news stories is America's favorite legal analyst, Royal Oakes. This is the Royal Oakes Show.
Robbing people with a 6-gun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Thank you, Mike Horn, and welcome to the Royal Oakes Show, and welcome to our esteemed co-host, Ken Jeffries.
Steamed, and I'm still steaming from...
How are you doing today?
No, I'm doing okay.
Doing okay, good.
It's been a wild week. Fires.
Yeah?
We had the shooting now a week and a half ago in town.
Well, we're going to have to muddle through without our esteemed millennial correspondent, Connor Oakes. He's on special assignment.
Special assignment again.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, you know, he's on more. He's like, is he the new CIA director, maybe? He's on special assignment.
And, you know, the funny thing is, it just occurred to me, Ken, when he comes back from special assignment, he doesn't really report on where he was. Isn't that the whole point of being on special assignment?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
A little fishy. A little fishy. Hey, we got top stories for
come
you.
In next week with a hat and with a CIA hat. And
we're gonna. That's right. Using the witness protection program, just like you. Oh, we're gonna get his debrief.
Hold on, I got a call from Bob Mueller here. Hold on a second.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You know, everybody was expecting a call from Bob Mueller yesterday. Yeah. I was talking to 2 or 3 media outlet folks late Thursday, and they were convinced. I don't want to give their names because it turns out they were wrong, but they were convinced that yesterday, Friday, was going to be the day. Why? Mueller was going to drop. There are these rumors for the last several Fridays. People have speculated, okay, we got past the midterms. Now he's unleashed. He's free to go forward with his indictment of Don Jr. or whatever. Right. And there was a lot of buzz about it happening yesterday, but it didn't happen. So, and now, you know, we'll get into Trump giving his answers. But anyway, the top stories. The Acosta press pass fight. The way I put it, CNN 1, frightened female teenage intern 0. That's how I...
Final score.
Yeah, exactly. So Jim Acosta beat the poor frightened female teenage intern. Another top story, of course, this guy Whitaker as interim attorney general. What is he? Is he in some kind of limbo state? Some people say he's about as objective as the Peter and Lisa tweet tandem.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I mean, you know, he is so much in favor of Trump and on board with the witch hunt. You know, he's basically the polar opposite of Peter and Lisa, but he's our interim attorney general. We're also going to talk about Nancy Pelosi being probably the next speaker. She and Donald are going to vie for the biggest narcissist title.
Yeah, apparently he sent a tweet to her, I think, complimenting her. I think I read this very late last night, and people were wondering if it was how sarcastic. Does Trump do sarcasm? I'm not sure.
He does not do sarcasm, but he does know what he wants, and I think he wants her in there because I think he sees her as a punching bag. So, you know, more to come on the Nancy Pelosi
She's a counterpuncher, you know.
That's right. The other couple of top stories we got, the Mueller investigation. Trump is saying he's writing his own obituary, his own answers to the Mueller questions.
Yeah, I saw that too, and it was like, easy. They were easy. You know, right.
And then Michael Avenatti's terrible, awful week. He not only got evicted from his law office, but there was the arrest for domestic.
He's now changed his name, by the way.
Oh, what is it?
Spell it Toast. He's toast.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he is. So those are the top stories that Ken and I are going to get into. We're also going to have our Moron of the Week feature. One of them involves a man who married a hologram. I think he's going to be a serious candidate for
his
Moron
wedding's in limbo, by the way. Yeah.
Something like that. We're going to have our Guess the Verdict feature. So Ken is going to be the sole guesser with Connor out this week. So it's going to be up to you to guess. There's a middle school teen, several teens, who sued for sex discrimination. So we'll see if you can guess who wins that one. And finally, our hot tub time machine feature, where we dip into the past. We're going to dip into the Nancy Pelosi archives, back when she looked young because she was young, as opposed to the the current
now
situation.
When she looks like a hologram.
Yeah, something like that. So let's get to the top story. The Acosta press pass fight. I'm sure you followed it pretty closely.
Yeah, I did.
Being a newsman.
Can I just say one thing about that? And,
Yeah.
The judge that ordered the press pass be given back, I understand, was a Trump appointee. If that means anything. I mean,
well, I'll tell you one thing. It means. It means that Trump appointed somebody that has the independence to make a decision that makes the guy who appointed him very unhappy. And I kind of like that. I mean, when you think about all of the decisions that have come out of the courts that have been contrary to Trump, issued by people who were appointed by Democrats, some people speculate, well, they've got a dog in the hunt. I think it's kind of refreshing that this guy who was appointed last year as a federal court judge in the District of Columbia District Court, for him to come out and issue a decision that's adverse to the president, I think that shows a lot of integrity. He could have just said, oh, well, Donald appointed me, so I'm going to make him happy. Well, he didn't make him happy with this decision. But, it's interesting. People have been talking a lot about it, Ken, about the Jim Acosta thing. And if you look at the decision issued by the judge yesterday, it was pretty narrow in this sense. So you've got Jim Acosta in the White House press room, and you saw the video. I mean, the guy just would not give up. He keeps asking the questions, and the teenage female intern tries to get the mic away from him. Apparently,
that's so last week already. You're really, literally and figuratively, it is. People here in SoCal, we're dealing with fires and shootings and everything else.
Oh, absolutely.
Jim Acosta, what's that?
Yeah, no,
we don't care anymore.
The local priorities certainly are different.
Right, this is a worldwide show.
But it was an interesting constitutional issue because what the CNN position was, as you know, because you followed it closely, they said, first of all, this is a First Amendment right. He's got the right to free press. Donald Trump does not have a right to say, okay, here we are in the press room. I don't like you. I don't like you. And I don't like you. Get out. He does not have that right. And in the past, the courts have upheld the fact that the president does have considerable leeway in assigning press passes and so on. But you can't do it arbitrarily. You can't just say, I'm the big cheese and he's not nice to me, so he's out. But that's not what the judge ruled on. The judge ruled on not the First Amendment, but the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, which says if you are threatened with a constitutional violation, you're entitled to due process of law. So what does that mean? Due process means you get notice that somebody's going to take your right away, your press pass away, and you have an opportunity to be heard. Acosta didn't get notice and an opportunity to be heard. He didn't get to go into court and say, oh, here are my lawyers, here's all the evidence, I think Donald is being unreasonable. Instead, they just yanked the press pass. And that's the basis on which Jim Acosta won. So, Donald Trump can at least he can say, well, I didn't lose on the First Amendment issue because the judge didn't actually say that he was deprived of his First Amendment right to free press. But he did break the rules.
What he also could have done is ignored it and stuck presumably Acosta in the back row. Why does he have to be in the front row? That was really strange too. And I saw there that the famous news conference with the tussle over the microphone now, Acosta was sitting right in front of Trump. Right. I don't know why did they put him in the back row and don't call on him.
I think it's tradition, though, isn't it? Like, remember when Helen Thomas was maybe.
But Trump is the untraditional president. Trump can do whatever he wants. He can sit him in the back and not call on him say, fake news, I'm calling on somebody else.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to run that by you, since you've got a couple of years under your belt as a real live journalist. What do you think the reaction would be if Trump basically boycotts Acosta? If Trump says, okay, fine, you want to be in here, you can be in here, and he doesn't call on him. The judge even mentioned in his decision.
He has to call on him? No.
Right, he doesn't. So the judge even mentioned in his decision yesterday, well, the president doesn't have to call on Acosta if he doesn't want to, but he doesn't have a right to just arbitrarily, without due process, kick him out. So here's my question. How do you think the American public would react if, from here on, whenever Donald Trump looks out and sees, oh, the CNN guy is Jim Acosta today, I'm not acknowledging him. I'm not going to let him ask a question. Do you think Trump would get a lot of heat? Do you think Acosta would be seen as some sort of a
martyr?
And a victor?
He is now in some circles, I think. I don't know, but you know what he always seems to do is calls on John Roberts first of Fox.
Right.
And I think John Roberts is a straight arrow myself.
Absolutely.
But what he could say is, I guess if he asks a couple of questions and ignores Acosta, somebody would say, Jim Acosta asked me to ask the following question, and then ask Acosta's question.
That would be a little awkward.
Well, Trump does awkward. This is what and they could do it like that. Or Acosta could ask Trump a question. Trump could ignore it or do what he wants. And then the next reporter, maybe it's Roberts, if they do it like that, Roberts could say, well, as Jim just asked, and re-ask the question. And keep doing that. And every reporter asked the same question.
And there was a variation on that. You may have seen it a couple of weeks ago. Acosta was asking a bunch of questions, and it was getting under Trump's skin. And Trump was criticizing him. He issued some personal insults about how, that was dishonest and that was unethical. The next guy, I don't know if he was from CBS or whoever, but the next guy started out by defending Acosta.
Peter Alexander of NBC. Yeah,
okay,
I saw that.
So, so they're kind of sticking together. Now, in terms of going forward, here's the situation. Legally, Donald Trump has the right to say, okay, you want due process? I got your due process right here. We're going to do a little investigation. We're going to go back over this video that was allegedly doctored, where supposedly Acosta put his hand
slow motion
on the
and
teenage girl.
Stop action.
Yeah, or do it like the Major League Baseball do. Let's have the umpires in New York in the studio.
Well, if they had it on Fox NFL football, they'd have Mike Pereira, who was the former charge of refs, and Joe Buck would say, Mike, is there a foul here, Mike? What do you think, 15 yards, roughing the passer? What do you think?
So Trump's got a choice. He can either say, okay, you want due process, I'm going to have a little mini investigation, I'm going to present the evidence, the video, the witnesses, I'm going to put on my side of the story that Acosta was really being an obnoxious guy who was a microphone hog. Or Trump can do what I think he's going to do. He's going to move on. He's going to say, fine, you want your press pass back? Here's your press pass back. We're going to honor the judge's decision. But in the future, you are going to have to be respectful. You're going to have to share. You're not going to be monopolizing things.
The rules. We're going to have rules now.
So I don't think Trump is actually going to try to continue to fight this particular battle over whether Acosta was a bad guy on this particular day a week or so ago. I think instead he's just going to say, we're going to give up on this one, and we're going to go forward.
Well, he likes enemies. Trump deals with enemies. Which one thing I thought of, too. I thought, and maybe I'm wrong on this, and I don't know if you know either, but whether or not President Nixon got rid of
he was
suspended Dan Rather's press pass. Remember, Nixon had a war with Dan. Plus, Nixon had an enemies list. Literally, he had one, and number one probably was Dan Rather in those days.
Absolutely,
back in the 70s.
And as I recall, the Washington Post was banned from not necessarily the press room, but from certain other parts of the White House where reporters were occasionally allowed in. So there's nothing.
No, I don't. I wonder if he actually banned Dan Rather. Took away Dan Rather's press pass. I don't think he did. I don't remember that, and anyway. But I didn't remember the Washington Post was banned from the press room. That could have been too back.
They were, and it's funny you mention that because the key case that guided this Trump-appointed judge to decide against Trump, the key case was a 1977 case that had been circulating through the courts for a long time because it related to a Johnson-era kerfuffle. Because Lyndon Johnson didn't like a particular reporter, and he yanked his White House press pass, and the guy sued, and it didn't work its way through the court.
Did Johnson do that?
Yeah, Lyndon Johnson did it. And in 1977, the District Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. decided you do have considerable leeway as the chief executive, but you may not yank the press pass without, quote, due process.
But in 77, Carter was...
Right.
By then, Carter was president.
The case percolated through the system. It took a long time. Meanwhile, a lot of lawyers got paid quite nicely, I'm sure. So anyway, Jim Acosta, he's the hero of the day. Our second top story is this Whitaker as interim AG guy. And it's so funny because there are a lot of swirling issues. One issue is whether or not he was appointed legally. And some people are saying, well, he wasn't approved, confirmed by the Senate, so where do you get off approving him?
He does eventually.
Yeah, he would have to be approved by the Senate if he's going to be the real Attorney General. But he's the interim Attorney General.
Right.
And so as a result, he probably doesn't have to be confirmed by the Senate. But the other issue is objectivity. I mean, when you've got a guy who's on record saying, I think it's a witch hunt. I think this whole Mueller thing should be shut down. And now he's the boss? Rod Rosenstein is no longer the boss of the investigation.
No, he's not.
It is this guy Whitaker. So we're going to see whether or not
he also reportedly said that he will let Mueller continue his investigation.
That's right. Hey, when we come back, a man marries his hologram here on the Royal Oak Show. Stay with us.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Were you scammed into signing a timeshare contract? And did you miss the part that said you have to pay for your great idea? Not only for the rest of your life, but when you're not here anymore, you get to pass this turkey onto your family for them to pay for the rest of their lives. Thanks, Dad. Don't burden your family down the road, and don't be stuck with expensive timeshare payments forever. Get out of your bad idea timeshare contract guaranteed, or pay nothing. Call Resort Release today and learn for free how their timeshare exit team can help you legally exit your timeshare contract. They've helped thousands of people, and they're A+ rated with a BBB. So if you feel scammed, get mad and get out of your expensive timeshare contract right now, guaranteed. Call NOW.
800-716-9903. 800-716-9903. 800-716-9903. That's 800-716-9903.
Welcome to your island home away from home at Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Relax and unwind on 11 acres of tropical gardens by the whale-shaped pool or in a beachfront cabana. Enjoy your favorite ocean activities, culture activities, and free nightly entertainment. A perfect setting for weddings, honeymoons, family vacations, or just a weekend getaway. Experience aloha at its best at Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel. Call 661-0011 or visit kbhmaui.com and let us welcome you and your ohana to ours.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Enjoy Tiki Live, the best cable alternative choice today, with hundreds of premium live TV programming, including ESPN, CNN, Fox News, Disney, AMC, Bravo, XF, OWN, and CRN Talk. Plus, no contracts and low month-to-month service. Tiki Live, servicing North America, including the Caribbean. To get started, visit TikiLive.com to order hundreds of channels, including CRN Talk, at a fraction of what you're paying today. Visit TikiLive.com. That's TikiLive.com.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our absent millennial correspondent Connor Oak.
Can I bring up something?
I'm so proud of you, Ken. You are so environmentally conscious. You've heard how straws are bad for the environment, and look at you. An invisible straw.
An invisible straw. Actually,
would you please demonstrate
yes.
for the audience?
And it really sucks, let me tell you.
You know, we
you know what? I won't even mention how we do this. I don't want to blow the.
It's got to be a little mystery, to the show.
But it's a hologram, actually. It's a hologram.
And funny you should mention that before we get back to our top stories tonight.
That's it.
Our Moron of the Week feature, loyal viewers and watchers, listeners to the Royal Oak Show know we have 2 moron candidates every single show, and then we vote at the end of the show on who's the most moronic of them all. Now, here's the first candidate. And I have to say, I don't want to bias you, but I think he's a pretty strong candidate. His name is Akinko Okondo. He has just married the love of his life in Tokyo. The unusual thing is he has married a hologram. His mother is not happy.
By the way, I used to live in a condo.
Well, he's living with a condo. For mother, it wasn't something to celebrate, said the soft-spoken 35-year-old, whose bride is a virtual reality singer named Hatsune Miku. She's a hologram. It's kind of weird because, you know, the tradition is, I guess, the daughter's parents pay for the wedding. I would think that, you know, the son's mom would be happy.
Funny if they paid
this.
in Bitcoin, virtual.
Why not? So there was a a ceremony at a Tokyo hall. Would you like to guess as to how much the ceremony cost?
Nothing.
Ken Jeffries? Oh, it cost a lot. They had 40 guests watching as he tied the knot with Miku present in the form of a cat-sized stuffed doll. It cost $18,000 for this party, this big wedding party. He said, I never cheated on her. I've always been in love with Miku-san.
And he knows she'll never cheat on him.
That's right. He said that Kondo has been living with a moving, talking hologram of Miku that floats in a $3,000 desktop device. He considers himself an ordinary married man. His holographic wife wakes him up each morning, sends him off to his job as administrator in a school. He is not alone, by the way. According to...
yes, he is, actually.
Well, here's why he isn't alone.
That kind of alone.
Gatebox is a company that apparently they're printing money here. They've issued more than 3,700 certificates for cross-dimension marriages, and some people have sent him supportive messages. So
Rod Serling was one of them, I think.
Girls would say, drop dead,
Twilight
creepy otaku, he recalled, using a Japanese term for geeks that can carry a negative connotation. I would think automatically a term for geek would have a negative connotation. As he got older, he says a woman at a previous workplace bullied him into a nervous breakdown, and he became determined never to marry. So I think that's what led to this unusual...
Hologram kids? What kind of kids do you have?
I don't even want to think about it. Even in a country obsessed with anime, Kondo's wedding shocked many, but he wants to be recognized as a sexual minority who can't imagine dating a flesh and blood woman.
So is that a protected class now? Is that a sexual minority?
Listen to his explanation, Ken.
Okay.
It's simply not right. It's as if you were trying to talk a gay man into dating a woman or a lesbian into a relationship with a man. He wants to be with his hologram.
Protection.
It's a compelling argument. So that's candidate number one for our Moron of the Week competition.
Boy, is that interesting. You never know. Technology is always ahead of the law, right?
That's absolutely right. He's way ahead of everybody.
He's a man ahead of his time.
That's right.
Wow.
So we were talking about this guy Whitaker. Do you, Ken, have a concern that it's inappropriate for a guy who is on record as saying the Mueller deal is a witch hunt? Should he be stepping in and saying, I'm the boss of Robert Mueller. I decide who he indicts.
I'm the boss of him.
I'm the boss of him. In this position, when you are the acting AG or the AG, you are the boss of Robert Mueller in the sense that if Mueller wants to indict somebody, it has to be approved by the AG or the acting AG. Right. If he wants to issue a subpoena to somebody, it has to be approved by this guy. This guy could fire Mueller. He does, under the statute, have to have good cause. But, I mean, are you comfortable with the idea of somebody with this track record of having such a strong opinion about the Mueller investigation being the boss of Robert Mueller at this point in history?
No, but you're right. He has the authority to do it.
Yeah.
Will he do it?
You know, the reason I guess I don't have a big problem with it is that I look around and I see what Mueller is doing, and frankly...
how do you know what Mueller's doing?
I have a hunch of what he's doing, first of all, because we know he's indicted, a whole bunch of people. But when you've got 15 Democrats on your staff, I think there's a really strong suggestion of bias. It's the same kind of thing as Lawrence Walsh did when Lawrence Walsh was the special prosecutor for Iran-Contra, and he decided to indict Caspar Weinberger 4 days before Bush's re-election campaign in 1992,
the blast from the past. Wow.
In which Bush was identified as an unindicted co-conspirator. Now you ask yourself, why would he do that 4 days before the election? Was there possibly some bias going on? The people who went ballistic because of Ken Starr being this rabid Republican going after Clinton for lying about sex, why can't we have objective people? I think the answer is we can't, we just don't. When we come back, some middle school kids suing for sex discrimination. We'll see if Ken can guess who wins the suit on the Royal Oak Show.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Hey, Lorraine, do you realize that your mother, my mother-in-law, Chef Maria, has been serving Las Vegas since 1949?
Yes, I do, Dennis. That's when she first met Howard Hughes, who fell in love with her cooking.
And in 1955, she opened her first restaurant on Fremont Street.
Yes, dear. And another great customer was Liberace.
Wow. Then in 1962, while Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack were causing global excitement on the Las Vegas Strip, your family opened their second restaurant.
And in 1970, 1972, Elvis Presley began electrifying Las Vegas audiences and eating in our restaurants.
You know, Lorraine, this is quite a town. There's only one Las Vegas.
And there's only one Bootlegger Italian Bistro.
Folks, when you're in Las Vegas, come visit us. We'll make you feel like you're part of our family.
The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, conveniently located at 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard, South Strip. Visit our website at www.bootleggerlasvegas.com.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644.
Still got those annoying critters? I'm talking bees and fleas, spiders, ants, roaches, bed bugs, and those disgusting rodents. Have you made that call to Dewey Pest Control yet? What's holding you back? Get rid of them, and I mean right now. When the heat brings them out, it's time to call Dewey, because Dewey knocks them down and keeps them out. Dewey's an 89-year Heritage California family business with 32 offices statewide. Think you got those 24/7 wood-munching termites chewing up your house? Call Dewey right now for their free inspection. And all this month, get $89 off with a regular maintenance program. Call 800-209-0900. That's 800-209-0900. Just one call to Dewey does it all. 800-209-0900. Or get your free inspection online at DeweyRadio.com. That's Dewey, D-E-W-E-Y, DeweyRadio.com.
Destination, South Point. 11 great restaurants, bingo, bowling, movies, race books, sports books, spa, live entertainment, oversized rooms, and the rates unbeatable. The South Point Las Vegas. Book now. Online at southpointcasino.com or call 866-791-7626. southpointcasino.com or call 866-791-7626. At the South Point Las Vegas, you're always a winner.
CRN listeners, don't forget What's Cooking in Wine with certified wine educator and master sommelier Michael Jordan, coming your way every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time right here on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Find out about the latest trends in wine, food, and the good lifestyle. And by the way, Michael Jordan can talk to those of you that are really into wine and those that are maybe just discovering wine. The great educator Michael Jordan, What's Cooking on Wine, Friday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific on CRN.
Welcome back to the Laurel Oak Show.
Donna Fargo.
And our co-host, Ken Jeffries. I never get tired of that song, do you? I mean,
yeah,
isn't that one of your all-time favorites?
It's so chirpy.
You know,
it's to want to throw a shoe at the radio.
Randy Travis covered it, and I didn't understand that. No, I'm just joking.
Wait a minute.
He's not a girl.
He was the happiest girl in the whole USA.
So it's time,
Randy?
It's time for our world famous game show, Guess the Verdict. And because Connor Oakes, our millennial correspondent, is on special assignment this week, you, Ken, are the sole guesser here. So two cases. I want you to see if you can guess the outcome here. So a Texas high school teacher has been fired for sexually harassing his female students. Now, that sounds like a Me Too kind of thing, but no, it's a little twist here. What was his offense?
I'm not laughing at that, by the way, because it happens. I'm sorry.
Absolutely, but this is laughable, the story. When you hear it, you'll agree with me. What was the offense of this guy, this middle school teacher? He let his students play the home version of Jeopardy in class, and depending on how they scored, Ken Jeffries, he would add points to their economics midterm tests score. So how they did on the Jeopardy game actually mattered.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
okay, but go ahead.
He thought it was a good idea. Now, the girls didn't do as well as the boys, and the girls argued that the Jeopardy questions were sex-based. unfair discrimination against the gals. The school board looked into the matter. They looked at the questions, and they determined yes. And so they fired this poor middle school teacher. He sued for wrongful termination. So, Ken Jeffries, what's your guess? Who won the wrongful termination suit? Did the school board win, or did he get his job back?
Well, it depends what the questions were.
We have no idea. We have no idea.
Well,
all we know is what's on this
Hang
piece
me
of
out to
paper.
dry on this.
Yeah, no more facts. I never have any more facts than I give you.
Probably the school board wins because they are the employer, I would think.
Good guess, but it's wrong.
Wrong answer.
He got his job back. They said that's ridiculous. It's silly. A Jeopardy, sex-based question.
Connor, where are you? You can guess these things.
Of course, they were all
You're the attorney here,
about
Connor,
baseball statistics, so
Okay.
maybe it was unfair. All right, here's the second. You can do better on this one. Two Niagara Falls, New York men are arrested on drug charges, and as they're being arrested, they swallow the drugs they had on them. The charges were later dropped for lack of evidence. The men then filed a lawsuit against the police, claiming the cops caused them to swallow the items in their possession, which in turn forced them to vomit, and they argued the forced vomiting violated their right to privacy. So, Ken Jeffries, how did this lawsuit for invasion of privacy turn out? Did they win, or did the city of Buffalo win?
City of Buffalo won.
Well, it was a trick question because they settled and they paid these guys $4,000. So neither side won. But because they claimed that they were forced to vomit, they won a $4,000 settlement from the city of Buffalo. A miscarriage of justice, in my humble opinion.
Well, I could say that people could argue, well, I'm looking at your face now and I've been forced to vomit, so I can sue you.
That's right.
No, I don't know.
So our next
that's silly. That's silly.
Our next top story, I want to get your thought about this because this is a wild and wacky idea. You know how Donald Trump values loyalty? It's super important.
That's
to him, right? Have you heard that Donald Trump is trolling around the White House at night and calling his buddies on the phone asking a very important question? Is Mike Pence loyal to me? He's asking it so often and so obsessively that people are really...
Now, I'm going to show my stupidity. Is that true? Because I haven't heard
it's absolutely true.
Is that like Nixon talking to the paintings during the
Something like
book,
that.
The final days?
Yeah, I mean, the rumor is that Trump spends most of his evening either watching cable news or talking to his pals. And, presidents do that. They have their kitchen cabinet. But this guy apparently spends a lot of time chatting. But here's the deal. He's thinking, allegedly, about dumping Mike Pence. Because when he's asking obsessively, is Mike Pence really loyal to me, he's thinking about getting a new vice president. So, Ken Jeffries, put your political Stu Spencer, Lynn Nofziger.
Lynn Nofziger?
Yeah.
How many more names you're going to pull out of the past?
Machiavelli. Put your Machiavelli hat on. Who would you advise Donald Trump to appoint as president? Because he has a right to do it. He can't fire Mike Pence now. Mike Pence was duly elected. But come re-election time in 2020.
Well, somebody would have to drum a Trump. It'll screw up your base, evangelical base.
Yes.
Remember that?
It's funny you mention that because the reporting I've seen on this suggests that Trump feels he has reached out so much to the evangelicals that he's basically got them in his hip pocket. Plus, he's lived such a sin-free life. He's
right,
certainly
he's as pure as the driven
they love
snow,
him.
Yeah.
He seriously feels as if he's got those evangelicals. He doesn't need Mike Pence for.
I think he can lose them, but who knows?
So, but who would he
Mike
get
Pence
to replace? Now, some people have mentioned Nikki Haley. He really was high on her, Trump, when she quit.
Yeah, that might be
a
decent choice.
Yeah,
actually.
and she is a woman. She is kind of moderate. She's not quite as conservative. Who knows where she stacks up on the loyalty? But the idea of dumping a vice president is kind of intriguing. And I was thinking back to recent American political history. I don't think anybody could think of a situation where a president has fired a vice president unless you go back to FDR. Now, Richard Nixon...
Yeah, the Checker speech.
Richard Nixon almost was dumped from the campaign.
Was that 52?
Yeah, so here's the deal with Richard Nixon. In 1956, Nixon and Eisenhower ran for re-election. They won in 52. At the end of the first term, Eisenhower went to Nixon and said, okay, Dick, you've done such a good job, but, I'm sure you're going to want to be president.
Checkers was in 56.
Yeah, we're going to get to the Checkers deal. But first we go to 1956. When Eisenhower's running for re-election, he wanted Nixon off the ticket. He wanted a pal of his to be vice president instead of Nixon. But he couldn't bring himself to fire Nixon, even though he had a legal right to do it. And when you think about that, isn't that a little weird? Eisenhower sent countless guys to their deaths in World War II. I mean, he issued orders he knew would result in the death of many Americans fighting bravely in World War II.
Right.
And he couldn't bring himself to say to Richard Nixon, sorry, Dick, you're going to be Secretary of the Treasury. Because what he tried to sell Nixon on was the idea that you're going to be better positioned to run for president yourself in 1960 if you are a cabinet guy, not a vice president. Well, Nixon, of course, saw it as nothing but a demotion. And so he said, no, I'm not going to go for that, Mr.
Well, it's
President.
something to do with the slush fund, and that's what the term slush, well, that's when people first heard about slush funds, right?
That's right. So now you've raised 52.
Many years ago.
Let's go back to 1952. The reason the Checkers speech happened is because Nixon was threatened with removal from the ticket, because Eisenhower's top advisors all said, Ike, get rid of Nixon. He's a drag on the ticket. Nixon did not want to go, and so when Eisenhower went to him and said, you ought to think about leaving, he said, only if you're forcing me out, only if you fire me will I leave the ticket. And once again, you know, we're now earlier in 1952, Eisenhower couldn't bring himself to do it. All right, so now let's fast forward to the new millennium, and we're talking about Donald Trump. It's very intriguing to me to wonder whether Trump would do something dramatic and spectacular. I mean, he is, after all, Mr. You're Fired. Why wouldn't he look at the polls and say, you know, Pence isn't really helping me much. I want somebody like, you know, Oprah Winfrey, Condoleezza Rice, not Oprah, obviously, because politically she's
Rice might do it.
Why wouldn't Condoleezza Rice be a perfect candidate? I mean, I would think he would seriously look at that. And if you want to go back in American political history and find out the last time that a president fired a vice president and picked somebody new, it would be FDR in 1944 when Harry Truman became vice president. FDR fired the previous vice president who was in there from 40 to 44.
Who was it?
I've forgotten the guy's name.
Say that.
Henry Wallace, very progressive,
Very good.
sort of suspected to be a Soviet sympathizer, and FDR got rid of him in place of this Pendergast machine guy, Harry Truman from Missouri. And of course, as they say, the rest is history.
You were a history major too.
Well, my gosh, Truman came in at such an amazing time. You know, he had not been briefed on the atomic bomb. He was not aware of the fact that we had that option. When FDR died in, I think, April 1945,
right.
the head of the military and the big bosses in the government sat Truman down and said, "Oh, Mr. President, we need to tell you something about this." So we'll see. We'll see if somebody pops up on the radar screen as a possible candidate to replace Mike Pence. So Nancy Pelosi's campaign to be Speaker is interesting. I think she is vying with Donald Trump as the world's biggest narcissist. Have you seen some of the things that she has said about herself? She said, my decision about how long I stay is not up to the other the reporters, not my rivals. I love this arena. I thrive on competition. I welcome the discussion. And then she sang her own praises as a master legislator, an astute leader, and somebody who is worth the trouble. I mean, I think she makes Trump look shy and retiring. I mean,
can I say something about Nancy Pelosi? Bye-bye.
Well, you don't think
really
that every Democrat in Congress owes their existence to her? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I wouldn't be surprised if 80% of the people in Congress who are Democrats look back on their personal careers and they say to themselves, thank God for Nancy Pelosi. You know, I had a tough race.
Yeah,
if it weren't for her raising money.
But you can't do that. And even though, you know, money is the mother's milk of politics, thank you, Jess Unruh, from wherever that quote came from.
If I can talk about Henry Wallace, you can talk about Jess Unruh. You're 3 decades past me.
Yeah, I know. My brain hurts trying to think back that far. But it's well, they ought to find somebody new, and I because otherwise same old. Then you hear the stories that Hillary's thinking of running again, and you know. Hello, Adlai Stevenson.
I absolutely believe she's going to run again. She beat Donald Trump before in the popular vote, so why not give it another try? Let's talk about Bob Mueller, and let's talk about the Russia investigation, and not just Russia, anything and everything having to do with Donald Trump. We talked earlier in the show about how people have been speculating that Mueller might come out with his report soon, but maybe a sign that it isn't right around the corner, it isn't imminent, is the fact that Donald Trump apparently has decided to answer Mueller's questions in writing.
And I wanted to ask you about that. Was it a good idea?
Oh, well, I think the idea of written answers to questions is a great idea.
But for him to do it himself and to say no lawyers took part.
That's the distinction. Okay, so he says he's written out answers to Mueller's questions. He says his lawyers weren't involved. They were simple questions, and he did it himself. So why would he be saying this? He's saying it to send a message to the world. It's the same message he's been hammering on for months. There is no collusion. It's a witch hunt. Therefore, it's incredibly easy for me, a totally innocent, pure as the driven snow president, to answer questions by this evil prosecutor who needs lawyers when all you have to do is tell the truth. That's what he's trying to convey, I think. Do you see a difference?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. I think it's the old, he's trying to have, it's like him being his own lawyer and as if having a fool for a client, supposedly, that old, whatever
exactly
that
right.
is.
And I think, I'm not to be so too hard on the president, but I think there are only two possibilities about him writing out answers to the questions. Number one, he's lying. I think that you've got dozens of lawyers.
He's lying that he did that.
Yeah,
he said
he's
that
not
he did
right
that?
now. He's not writing out.
Yeah, I thought that too. He
that's
tweeted out that I wrote it myself and didn't have any help. So on.
Dozens of lawyers have been whispering in his ear for months and months that this is really serious stuff. Donald Jr. could be indicted for obstruction of justice. They've already indicted half a dozen people. People are serving time, Manafort's in jail, and so on. The idea that you would confront the questions by a prosecutor yourself and answer them yourself, it's inconceivable. And so I think there's a very strong argument for him simply lying. The answers have to be totally vetted by his lawyers, because the lawyers know in general the kinds of things that Mueller has been trying to get. They know the documents he's received. They know the witness statements that he has obtained. They know who has flipped on Donald Trump, like his chief financial officer of the Trump enterprises, like Michael Cohen, his fixer and lawyer for many years. A lot of people have been providing evidence and information to Mueller, and as a result, there's a lot at stake. So the idea that Trump would be willing to just write it out himself, I don't think so. So I think possibility one is he's lying. Possibility two is that he's stupid, and you touched on the idea before.
Well, but such a
lawyer represents himself,
but
as
such a
fool
narcissist, maybe he doesn't think he's lying. Who knows what?
Yeah, well, it's just insane to me, the notion that he would, with Mueller having this mountain of information in the form of documents and testimony and so on about Russia, about Trump's finances, about the election laws, obstruction of justice, lying to investigators. I mean, the election laws alone. We learned about a month ago that Michael Cohen, of course, is saying that, well, the Stormy Daniels money, the check written out by Donald Trump, was written by Trump for the express purpose of influencing the election. Now, Trump could theoretically say, oh, no, I just wanted to save my family the embarrassment of all this publicity about Stormy Daniels making this stuff up. But the point is, there's an election law violation that Mueller can try to put together against Trump. So, it's just so insane for Trump.
Just a little quick side note. I mean, Avenatti, all of a sudden, besides apparently being evicted from his Newport Beach headquarters, or being ordered evicted, which was occurred yesterday, I think, as we do the show. But, of course, a few days ago was accused of domestic violence, and that's a whole nother can of worms. And the question is, who did that? Who accused him? What, his ex-wife said he didn't do it or something, and I don't know what.
It's kind of weird.
It might be linked to some right-wing guy from...
oh, no, that I haven't heard. There's some possibility that some right-wing guy is involved in the Avenatti domestic violence accusation?
in that it was promulgated, to use a word, if that's even a right word, that pushed by some right-wing conspiracy theorist or something like that. But I don't know.
One interesting thing is whether or not people are going to say, well, we believe Michael Avenatti as opposed to the accusers, because it came up in the Me Too movement in a lot of contexts where, as some people say, believe survivors. Every time there's an accusation, we're obligated to believe people. And other people say, excuse me, how about taking every case on its merits? And just because an accusation comes in doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's guilty. It'll be interesting to see if people stand by their man. Now, we we've heard
Stormy
from
Daniels did say she would seek, I think in her words, different representation if the allegations are true.
Yeah.
For whatever that means.
Now, she, to her credit, didn't just come out and say, "Oh, yeah, we've got it's the Me Too movement these days, so we're going to believe the accusers." She said, "I'm going to look at it. I'm going to have an open mind, and obviously, if the evidence is strong against him, then she's going to dump him in a New York minute." When we come back, we're going to talk about Melania finally wins around. After all the embarrassment, the humiliation that she's put up with, she has won a turf battle in the White House.
Yes, she has.
A victory for her, and so it's nice to see her win one. It must be a rather difficult job she's got. Hey, when we come back, also we're going to have our second Moron of the Week candidate. We're going to vote on who's the most moronic of the week. So stay tuned here on the Royal Oak Show.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show. You're experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain, pain from a sports injury. If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com. 310-873-4422.
When you really want Italian food, you have got to get to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club. Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. It's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Now indulgers of plenty and good fortune, this is a call to action. It's holiday party time. You have been assigned the awesome responsibility of planning the Christmas gathering. No gnashing of teeth, no worries. It's time for the very best office get-together ever at Columbo's. Good Time Central, 323-254-9138. Jazz every night. Columbo's family award-winning Italian recipes coming to life and award you with an abundance of yummy, mouth-watering steaks, the freshest fish, and the world's greatest meatballs, all for a mere pittance. Party time at Columbo's, 323-254-9138. Make your reservations now. Columbo's, that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. The holiday office party at Columbo's. Manja.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host
Chairman of the board, by the way.
Excellent. Your old DJ days. You remember that?
Chairman of the board. Give me a little more time. Okay.
So, Moron of the Week. We've got one candidate already in the books, and it's the guy who married his hologram. Now, here's the competitor.
It's just so funny.
It's the parents, the second Moron of the Week candidate, the parents of a little boy in Australia. He's a 3-year-old. They ordered a birthday cake at, let's see, Woolworths. $35 for a birthday cake at Woolworths.
At Woolworths?
Yeah, and down in Australia, I guess they specialize in birthday cakes. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted a frog theme because the little boy likes frogs. And so they decorated the cake, and You probably can't see very well on the screen here, but the decoration consists of a happy face and the number 3. Just a happy face and number 3. The parents went ballistic. They said that these are pathetic decorating skills. This was a frog-themed birthday party, and it ruined the little boy's birthday party. Now, the little boy's 3. Like he knows anything about, what a frog decoration should
First of all, who
look
goes
like
to
on a cake.
Woolworth to get a birthday cake? Is that what you said, Woolworth?
They were taking it a little
Wow.
seriously. They said, a cake is an integral part of any child's birthday party. You want to take pictures? I assumed it would be fine. When I got home, I opened it up, and my wife and I were both mortified. They then went back to the store, and another cake decorator saved it by making a frosting pond and placing a frog figurine on the cake. But they went totally nuts. I was most disappointed with the lack of effort. It seemed like they didn't even care. I will never be buying cakes from Woolworths again.
Woolworths? Wow.
Woolworths, give them a $50 gift card and apologize.
Are they still in business, Woolworths?
Down
I don't
in
even know if they
Australia,
are.
Down where they have shrimps on the Barbie. So,
Yes, that's
if you were going to vote, Ken Jeffries, who's the biggest moron of the week? Is it the guy that married a hologram at a cost of $18,000 for his wedding party? Or is it the parents who have overreacted to the fact that the depiction of the frog wasn't that good on the cake?
No, I think it was the hologram guy.
I agree. I think he's the clear winner. We're going to talk about Melania. Speaking of winning, she picked a fight with an aide, John Bolton's aide, and Melania wanted this woman fired, Mira Ricardel.
Yep.
And apparently it went on for a long time. It took going public by Melania, and she issued a public statement saying the First Lady has lost confidence in this person.
And didn't even mention who it was, which was
right,
kind of weird.
But people kind of knew.
They
The
knew.
bottom line is the lady ended up getting either fired or demoted. And so
transferred
to
or
me, it's kind of nice that Melania wins for a change. I mean, she's been through a lot. I mean, the humiliation, the mortification of all this stuff coming out in public about Donald cheating on her with Stormy Daniels
Poor
when she
Melania.
was at home with Barron, who was like 2 months old. So finally, but it took a public statement out of the First Lady's office to do it. But at least she won this victory. And you were saying off the air, it kind of reminded you of Nancy Reagan's situation.
Yeah, I heard it, and I forgot. I heard on another talk show. I couldn't remember, and then somebody said, "Yeah, what about Nancy Reagan?" And that's right. Nancy Reagan did a lot with her astrologer. Remember, she had the astrologer too. Would make decisions on, and Ronnie would go, "Okay." And but she had Don Regan fired. Don was and I can't remember what he was, but he was a big shot in the administration.
He was Secretary of Treasury, and then he became the Chief of Staff.
Exactly
right. And Nancy Reagan had really sharp elbows. She was not afraid to throw her weight around.
Very small. I met her once, and very small woman, as you know, but sharp elbows.
And, there's another example. I worked for a judge, Justice William Clark, and he went back to Washington, and he had a big job. He was National Security Advisor. He got crosswise with Nancy Reagan because he said to the president, I think you should go to the Philippines for a big important meeting. And Nancy said, no, the astrologer says you shouldn't go. And Judge Clark made the mistake of pushing back. Next thing you know, he was out of there as a result of Nancy Reagan's
He couldn't
opinion.
foresee it, but she could because she had the astrologer.
That's right. She had the crystal ball. Now, it was pretty strange. All right, well, score one for Melania. We're happy for her. Ken Jeffries, great job today. And next week, maybe our millennial correspondent will be back. He'll debrief us on his trip to Las Vegas. Have a great week, folks. See you again on The Royal Oak Show.
Which was most important because that was your theme.
Are you tired of hearing your favorite talk radio show sound like this? What if you could hear your